Now, the acquired mindset is such an important thing, because people say, well, you got to keep positive and all this sort of stuff, and you know, you got to switch your emotions off and turn your mind off to all this sort of stuff. And actually, that's not the case. What we need to do, because as market maker traders, in other words, we're trading the accumulation, manipulation, profit release. We're trading those three. We're not trading those three phases, but we're trading that model, the market maker's model of the market. What we need to do is to ignore the live price. Now, that may seem like a contradiction, and to I suppose it is a little bit, because you know, you're looking at the live price, and the live price is the last price that's on the chart. You can see it's flicking around. You know, in our case, it's a blue line. We're flicking around, and we can see that live price constantly changing on there. Now, a lot of traders will become focused in. They'll be drawn into the live price. They'll be watching this flicking around, especially if they've entered the market and the stop loss is down here, say, you know, and the live price is flicking there and flicking this and flicking this, so that the live price becomes almost like an emotional barometer for the trader. As he gets a little bit closer to his stop, he feels a little bit more tense, and it goes away. He feels a little bit more relief, and so becomes sucked in to this emotional contact on this live price. Is why we actually have one click button in PAT software actually to turn that off, so you can just look at what really matters. But you do need it sometimes, obviously, to look at your trades. But generally, we need to be ignoring the live price. Certainly on a mental level, we need to be ignoring the live price. And the second thing is we need to become detached from the facade. This is such an important thing, because when you're looking at a chart, which we now know, we've got the facade here, which is the front edge, which is the candle, the shapes, and all the things that you're looking at there. If you're focusing on this here, you're not focusing on this here. We want to focus on the market maker's business model behind what's going on, what stage are they in? Are they in accumulation phase? Are they in a manipulation phase? Are they in a profit release phase? That's what we need to know. And where are they going? So if they're in manipulation, you know, when is that profit release phase going to come? If they're in accumulation, when is the manipulation going to start? How can we see that? How can we follow that through? So if we're stuck on the facade here, we're not going to see any of this, the real stuff that's going on behind. So whilst we look at the facade, we see the facade, we are always asking the question, what's behind here? We're not becoming anchored into this. We detach ourselves from the facade and we focus on the bit behind. Now, I've got down here connected to the box. What do I mean by that? Well, you remember, should have actually drawn a little box in there, shouldn't I, on that? You remember our little accumulation area, which I said to you, which a lot of people will call a congestion area, which is wrong. This is an accumulation area, and this is our box. Remember, I said when I referred to the box, you'll remember about that. Connected to the box. Why do I want you to stay connected to the box? Or why should you stay connected to the box? Well, remember that everything starts from the box. All the accumulation starts. If the market makers are going to move this market higher, they will be accumulating buys in this area. If the market makers are going to take the market lower, they will be accumulating sell orders in this area here. So by keeping ourselves connected as to what was connected to the box, we maintain a connection with their first phase. Now, so in other words, we see the market going off in a certain direction, which may be in the manipulation stage when it goes straight into manipulation. By keeping ourselves focused on the box, we can be always asking the question, what was in the box? The subsequent activity that comes out of here needs to answer the question, what was in the box? Because remember this, once we know the contents of the box, we make money exactly the same way that the market makers make money. We make money by default. So our only job as a trader, when you're trading these three phases, accumulation, manipulation, profit release, when you're trading the market maker's business model, your only concern is what is in the box. And when you think about that, that's such a powerful thing for you as a trader to understand. If you can just focus all your energy on working out what is in this box, accumulation of buys or accumulation of sells. Accumulation of buys, we know it's default move up. Accumulation of sells, default move down. Can you imagine the power that gives you as a trader, that you've got this singular point of focus to work out what is there. So we stay connected to the box. Okay. Now, how do you stay connected to the box? Very important. So you stay connected by asking questions. Ask questions. How is money going to be made? By looking at the box and asking yourself that question, how is money going to be made? Not by you. Remember this, not by you. You don't come into this. How is money going to be made? how is the market maker going to make money from this period here? How is he going to do that? By asking that question, you'll be keeping yourself connected into this box in here. Another question to ask is, what would the market maker not want to happen? Think about that. What would the market makers not want to happen? Clearly, they'd not want the market to go against their position on here. So they'll be guarded that beliefs aren't created in that opposing direction. As an example, supposing they've been accumulating buy orders, ready in anticipation for the market to be moved up, and they will sell into that rise and release their profits. What they don't want to do is they don't want to create beliefs. They do at a certain point, obviously through the manipulation process, they want to create negative sort of oscillating beliefs, if you like, so they can accumulate. But once that's sort of set, they certainly don't want through this period to create beliefs in the market might be going down, because that will not encourage people to buy. So they don't want to do anything in there that's going to challenge their ultimate outcome destination. So ask the question, what would the market makers not want to happen? And observe what that might look like on a chart. Think about that. How would that action look like on a chart, what they might not want to do? So by asking those two questions, you can keep yourself connected right into the box. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is learning how to recognize this. How do you recognize these things that you want to see, these phases that you want to look at? How to remain connected. Now, remaining connected to the market is initially not easy, because everything about the market is visually represented to us in the form of a pattern or shape on a chart. But looking at the form the chart is taking, the pattern of the charts, we're disconnected from the true content of the market. And yet at the same time, we're only faced with this facade to work with. For example, we cannot actually display the true content in the form of a pattern or shape. We can only work with that which we have. We need a method to keep our minds off the form and onto the content. Now, over the years, I've come up with what I consider to be two vital questions to keep in mind when looking at any financial market. The first question is, how is money going to be made? In other words, how are the market makers going to make money from what I'm observing before me? The second question is, what would the market makers absolutely not want to happen? And the first question keeps my mind focused on looking at the content of the chart rather than the form it is taking. I'm looking to see how that content will tell me what's in the box. Is it buy or sell orders? By asking the second question, I can observe when the market makers would not want the market to go, or where the market makers would not want the market to go. For example, if the market makers have been accumulating buy orders, ultimately the market will be going up. If the market started to move down because of outside selling pressure, the market makers would want to stop this occurring. To do this, we might see something like a swift move away, say, from an area that the market makers know would likely prompt the developing of beliefs in a different direction to the one they had planned. A sense of knowing. Now, at some point, of course, you have to place the trade. You have to make that call as to which way the market is going to go and when. Now, if you're looking at the form the chart is taking or a pattern, you're likely to be looking for an individual time or bar to present you with some form of signal. This is the way that 95% of traders will trade, and of course, as we already know, the trading of forms and patterns and bars is fundamentally flawed at a most basic level. The answer to this is that you trade when you have that sense of knowing, and the sense of knowing that says you are at a given point in time, yes, this is it, I understand, I know what I have to do. You do not look for that sense of knowing in the form of a chart, the form the chart is taking. You look for it in recognising the content. Remember back to where we discussed recognising the form of a circle. If we systematically remove parts of these circle illustrations, we would get to the point where we would not be able to recognise them as circles anymore. We would have basically lost our sense of knowing. If then we added a few parts of the circle illustrations back in, our minds would again start to recognise them as circles. And what this translates to you is, as a trader, is that the moment of placing your trade would only be at the point where you recognise the circle, when you recognise the story, when you recognise the true content of what you're looking at. If you enter any other time before this without this sense of knowing, then you're almost certainly being drawn into the market by market makers' manipulation tactics. Section summary. This business is not about you as a trader. This is the market maker's business and you are interacting with it. Contrary to popular belief, you only need a small amount of information to actually trade successfully. You only need to know the contents of the box. What are the market makers accumulating? Is it buy orders or is it sell orders? You are in effect going to be mirroring the market makers trading.